Some stories are just so wild, so bizarre, you'd swear they were made up. Well, today we're diving into a real-life Australian murder mystery where the star witness wasn't a person at all. It sounds like a ridiculous question, right? But what if I told you it actually happened? This is the core of a gruesome case that has absolutely captivated Australia for decades. And it all starts in the last place you'd ever expect. So, where does this all kick off? Not in some dark alleyway or at a typical crime scene. No, our story begins at a place meant for family fun. Okay, so picture this. It's April 25th, 1935, at the Coogee Aquarium in Australia. The place is buzzing because they've got a brand new attraction, a massive 4-meter-long tiger shark just caught off the coast. For the first couple of days, everything seems totally normal. But then, the shark starts acting strange, really strange. It's clearly stressed, banging up against the walls of the tank. Then, right in front of a huge crowd of people, the shark starts to convulse, and then it throws up something absolutely horrifying. A perfectly preserved human arm. The aquarium just erupts into total panic. So this goes from a weird aquarium incident to a full-on police matter, like instantly. This isn't just some random body part. This is the very beginning of a murder investigation. At first, everyone thinks the same thing. It must be a swimmer or fisherman, the victim of a terrible shark attack. But then a doctor, Victor Koppelson, takes a look at it, and he finds something incredibly chilling. The arm wasn't bitten off, it wasn't torn off. It had been sliced off, cleanly, with a sharp blade. This was no accident. This was murder. Yeah, the official police report was crystal clear. That clean cut was undeniable. The police knew right then and there they were hunting for a killer, not just trying to ID a victim of the ocean. So the cops have one single major clue to go on. A really unique tattoo on the forearm of two boxers squaring up to fight. It was their best shot. They took pictures of it and splashed it all over the newspapers, basically asking everyone, hey, do you know this tattoo? And believe it or not, it actually worked. The gamble paid off. A man came forward, saw the picture, and recognized it immediately. He confirmed the arm belonged to his brother, a guy named James Smith. Suddenly, the mystery had a name. So now that they have a victim, the police can really start digging into his life. And what they uncovered was this dark, messy world of criminals, shady deals, and of course, betrayal. The investigation pretty quickly led them to a local criminal named Patrick Brady and his business partner, a man named Reginald Holmes. Turns out, our victim, James Smith, was mixed up with both of them in all sorts of illegal stuff. We're talking insurance fraud, trafficking, the whole shebang. A motive for murder was definitely starting to take shape. Okay, so the police have their eyes on Patrick Brady as the main suspect. But there's a huge problem. They know their entire case is going to come down to the testimony of one man, Reginald Holmes. And unfortunately for Holmes, the bad guys knew that too. And this is where things get really violent. In early June, Reginald Holmes is found with a bullet wound to the head. But get this, he miraculously survives because the bullet actually flattened against his skull. Terrified for his life, he finally agrees to talk and become the star witness against Brady. But just a few days later, on June 11th, his luck runs out. Holmes is found dead in his car, shot 3 times. The star witness was gone for good. This was just a complete disaster for the prosecution. I mean, their main witness is dead. All they have left is a severed arm that was puked up by a shark. How on earth could they connect that arm to Patrick Brady and prove that a murder even happened? So, with no witness, the prosecution had to come up with this absolutely wild theory. They argued that Brady killed Smith and tried to stuff his body in a trunk, but the arm wouldn't fit, so he just threw it into the sea. From there, a little shark came along and swallowed it, only to get eaten by the bigger tiger shark that ended up in the aquarium. It's this insane chain of events, like a grotesque Russian nesting doll of murder evidence. All right, so here's the situation. The star witness is dead, and all the prosecution has is this bizarre multi-shark theory to present to a jury. The case against Patrick Brady goes to trial. And Patrick Brady wouldn't just face trial once, or even twice. They tried to convict him 3 separate times for the murder of James Smith. But in the end, it just wasn't enough. As wild and compelling as the theory was, without Reginald Holmes there to point the finger directly at Brady, the evidence was ruled insufficient. Patrick Brady was acquitted. He walked free. So let's just recap the final score here, because it's pretty bleak. James Smith was murdered, and the rest of his body was never ever found. Reginald Holmes was murdered just to keep him quiet. And Patrick Brady, the guy at the very center of it all, he walked and lived for another 30 years, dying at the ripe old age of 76. So, yeah, the case was officially closed, but the story was just getting started. It's now one of Australia's most famous unsolved murders. The sheer strangeness of it, the shark, the tattoo, the murder of the witness, has turned it into a national legend. It even inspired an episode of the show CSI Miami back in 2003. In the end, the killer was never convicted. But in this incredibly bizarre twist of fate, a shark from the ocean deep managed to expose a murder and give a voice to a man who had been silenced forever. It really makes you wonder, what's the strangest piece of evidence you've ever heard of in a case?